Hi guys, this is Rob again. I wanted to make a video about my experience test driving all major brands of cars and give you my take on what is um, the best cars I drove, the best, stats and the best miles per gallon I drove. This video will help you pick out a car because picking out test driving cars is a big long process and it takes a lot out of you. So I want to make this video now before I forget all the cars that I test drove so I can tell you guys. Now this test drive was done about 2 years ago, so it's a little bit outdated. I bought the car in 2015, 2016, uh, and I won't tell you which car I ended up buying right now, but I'll tell it to you at the end of the video. Uh, all right, so what I had first, I was driving a Ford Taurus. Now, people may say Ford Taurus, oh God, those cars are like the worst cars in the world, blah blah blah, whatever. It actually was probably the best car I ever had. Um, it was solid. It's a solid car. Um, I actually got into an accident, head-on accident at about 35 miles an hour in the snow one winter a few years back, and we were fine. The bumper got damaged, but the car was fine. We both had our seat belts on, my friend and I. Thank God for that. The person that hit us, they were okay too, thank God. But I tell you that the old cars hold up way better than new cars. I don't even like new cars anymore. But the fuel mileage is much better on new cars. So with the high price of fuel, I decided to look for a new car after that one was wrecked. And actually, what happened on the Taurus is the transmission went at about 150,000 miles. So, I decided to look for a car. So, let me tell you which ones I test drove. I'm going to start from, I'm going to just give you a rundown of the cars I test drove, and I'll tell you what I feel about those cars. And I think I'm a pretty good judge of cars. I've been driving for a long time. I think I have a good sense of what are the best cars to get. Now there will be some cars that I left out, but if I left out some cars, it just means I didn't test drive them. All right, so I test drove the Honda Accord. Beautiful car. Great, great car. Um, I love the new Accords now, the way their body shape is. They did a really beautiful job on the body, outside and inside. So the Honda Accord is the one I actually was thinking about buying. I actually test drove a V6 six-cylinder one. That was the first car I test drove, and I really wanted to buy that one. It had a sunroof, leather interior, just beautiful. V6, just a wonderful drive. However, what I decided was that it was a V6, and I'm gonna probably get the same gas mileage that my Taurus got, which was not bad. It was like 23 to 24 miles a gallon, maybe 25 in a highway. So it was okay, but I was looking to get a really good gas miles per gallon. So I started looking at four cylinders, and that car had a lot of miles on it. So I decided, let me put this car to the side. Let me test drive some other cars. Then I test drove the Toyota. I was always thinking about buying a Toyota because Toyota was so popular back in the 90s, and everyone was buying Toyotas. And so I test drove a Toyota, and I test drove a Toyota hybrid because the hybrids were all the rage, right? And I figured, well, let me test a Toyota hybrid. They said it was like, someone told me it was the best car in the market. I was not impressed. The power was just not that great. It's a four-cylinder, but the power wasn't great. I would say the Toyota hybrid is like gets an average grade from me. Um, yeah, you get good gas mileage, but you can get great gas mileage on a regular four-cylinder car. You don't have to go with a hybrid. So, and the inside was so computerized that I just, the interior, I just felt like was really complicated and too many electronics, and I don't like a car like that because electronics is not my specialty, and I knew I would have to take it to a shop all the time if I bought it. So I said forget about it. Okay, then I decided to test drive Acura. Acura are right up there, top cars. Excellent quality, the build, and so I test drove the Acura TSX. It actually was a wagon. It was a beautiful color. It was like a black. It was like a bright black and really graphite, like a graphite black, I think is what it was. Really cool color. The car handles fantastic. I would recommend the Acura to anybody. It was the 4-cylinder, lots of power. It was a non-turbo and still had lots of power. Great gas mileage, and the wagon is great because you'll have a lot of space for moving stuff and hauling stuff. So the wagon, that's why I wanted to buy the wagon. So I was about to buy that car, but then I realized that it might not fit my garage. It might be an issue with my garage. My garage is not very long, and I knew, I just had a feeling there would be an issue with the garage, especially if I bought another vehicle and I would have two cars, then it would be even harder to park. So as much as I loved the Acura wagon, I just said, oh, let me keep looking. Okay, so then I went to look at I looked at a Mitsubishi too. Mitsubishi are good cars. I don't think they're anything that special. Like compared to Honda, I don't think they're as good. The Mitsubishi are neat. Good car, but there's nothing about it really that stood out in my mind. And so I kind of just, I went in to look at some cars, the SUVs. I went to look at their SUV, I forget what it is, CU5 or something, CX3, CX5, and it was okay, but they just didn't strike me as anything amazing. Okay, then I went to look at Volkswagen. So I looked at some Volkswagen Passats, as Passats are supposed to be, the step up, the luxury version of the Jetta, Volkswagen Jetta. But as it turns out, the Jetta is actually, in my opinion, was a better made model of Volkswagen. The Passats have a 2-liter engine in them, but no turbo in it, and extremely slow, very sluggish. I was the new Passats. I put the 4-cylinder. I put the gas pedal to the metal, and the car just didn't have that. It just didn't move. And I said to myself, so I said, forget about this. This is very disappointing. Now the Jetta was a very good car, but you have to get one in a 5-cylinder, the 2.5 liter. Those have a lot more power. They're a lot more fun to drive. If you can find a Wolfsburg edition, that one has the heavier suspension, and you'll just feel more solid, and it's got way more pep. But the 2-liter ones, actually, I think the 2-liter Passat was a turbo, and it was very disappointing. All right, so I said forget that, and then what did I test next after the Volkswagen? I think I tested some domestic cars. I think I drove a Ford Fusion, the little Ford Fusion. Really neat car, beautiful interior, beautiful. They have the really nice red and blue mixed lights in the dashboard. Very impressive. Great little car, 4-cylinder. I would say it's an excellent car. But again, the quality of the American cars, they do not match the quality of Asian cars, and then the Asian cars don't match the quality of the European or German cars. Okay, now to the German cars, top of the line cars, guys. best in the world. Uh, I mean, hands down. There's no comparison. I'll explain why. Now, the first test drive I did was a BMW. Uh, I'm a little mixed on BMWs because BMWs have kind of a snobbish, in my opinion, they have a very snobbish look to them. The people that drive them, sometimes they give off the wrong vibes. I think a lot of people shun BMWs because they consider them like a snobby person's car, something like that. That's my feeling. But regardless, I wanted to check out the rides. I never drove a BMW. And I got to tell you something. The ride wasn't that great. I mean, the ride was solid. The ride was very heavy. You could tell BMWs are very heavy, well-made cars. But the engine, maybe it was the model I drove, the engine in mine was weak. I was kind of surprised. I mean, I'm trying to think which model it was. I think it might have been a 325i. I don't think it was a 4-cylinder. I think it was a 6-cylinder or a 5-cylinder. But I was not terribly impressed by the acceleration of that car. So I was really amazed because I was expecting a bullet, BMW to be like a bullet. So probably the ones that are I know now that the BMWs which are extremely fast acceleration wise are the 5 series and the 3 series. Those I think are the race versions of the BMWs. I think those are the fastest BMWs they make. So all the other ones are nowhere near that. And I personally was looking for a very fast accelerating car. I knew I had to have a turbo in it. Otherwise, in a 4-cylinder, otherwise it's just, if you're looking at a 4-cylinder, you got to get one with a turbo. That's what I found out. The only non-turbo that I drove was the Acura TSX, and it was very fast. And even though it didn't have a turbo, the Acuras are really fast accelerating cars. Very impressive. Now, my number one pick in the car that I bought, can you guess it? Can any of you guess it? It is German. Right. I bought the Audi. Okay, guys, I always was thinking of Audis. Always wanted to drive them. Always wanted to, and I test drove the Audis. What I test drove was the Audi A4 TSI Turbo with a CVT transmission. After I test drove it, be quiet, Renty. After I test drove it for about 10 minutes, I realized this was the best and fastest car and best car I drove. I had my dad in the passenger seat, and that thing accelerated like unreal. Is almost it was almost like sitting in a 911 turbo. And if you ever drove in a Porsche 911 turbo, the acceleration, you know what I'm talking about, the G forces. You can actually feel the G forces, like no other car. And so this is a sedan I purchased. It was an older model. So 2007. Hold on. Be quiet. It was a 2007, and it had like 70,000 miles on it. The car was mint. It was actually from Florida, so there was no rust on it. Clean as a whistle. Looks virtually like it came off the production floor. And the ride is unbelievable. And so what I'll just tell you is that the reason I went with the older model instead of like a newer one is because I realized they changed in 2009 and up. I think it was 2009 or 2010 and up. They changed the interior. They put a cheaper leather in, and the leather that is in there now is much heavier, much thicker, and also they changed the shape of the seats. The seats in the newer Audis now have like they kind of elongate forward, so when you sit in them, um, you kind of like just gives. I just didn't like the way it was sitting. I prefer the 2007. I mean, everything about the 2007 Audi was perfect. The seats were very hard, and especially like if you have a lower back issues, you want a very hard seat. You don't want a mushy seat. That's one of the reasons I buy leather in cars, but it has to be very hard German or Italian leather because it's very firm and it's really good on your back, on your lower back, especially for long drives. So that's it. And I'll tell you, I've had a few issues with the Audi, um, which I can talk about, and I'll probably talk about in my next video. If you want, just click on my channel and you'll see a next video, which I'm going to do right after this, on some of the issues I found with my Audi. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and hope it'll help you make a easier decision on cars, because now you know now you know about them a little more, and when you go in to the dealer or wherever, private party, you're going to know what to look for. And that's it. So leave me any comments and or questions, and I'll try to get back to you. Thanks, guys. Bye.